Please proceed, Senator.
Yes, thank you very much. And this is in regard 887 Natural Gas Storage Well Standards Bill. I understand that Chair's preferences. I take the proposed amendments before this committee, and I will. The state's priority is to protect urban areas from high-risk wells. I'm sure you've been following it, but I had about 10,000 residents that had to be relocated. Many of them are still not back in their homes. I think my job and all of our job as the legislature is when something tragic like this happens, and it wasn't a natural disaster like a fire or earthquake, but it was a well leak in one of the largest natural gas reservoirs, not only in the state but in the western United States. It was done partially because of lack of deferred maintenance. It was done because aging well casings, plastic tubing that had perforated and ripped apart over time, not investing in that, and perhaps faulty land use planning of putting 32,000 people adjacent to a natural gas storage field. So lessons learned. I think all of us, when we see something like that, we think we have to go back and say, how could we have prevented? How can we minimize risk for the next person? How about those other 13 reservoirs here? So this bill now really focuses on what I call best management practices for those natural gas reservoirs and wells, particularly those in the urban areas next to homes, and we have at least 4 of those that I'm very, very concerned about. So this is a problem not only of climate and health. 20% of our state's methane was released over a 4-month period of time. That's a problem. Public health impacts, benzene. We still have problems with residents not knowing consequences of long-term health impacts. We also have an economic problem for 21 million Californians that relied on that natural gas reservoir to meet the needs of 17 power plants in multiple counties in Southern California. We also have a huge economic and legal disaster faced by Southern California, Southern California Gas Company. They're going to be faced with multiple lawsuits. They spent a lot of money. They're going to be spending more. We cannot let this happen again. So this bill sets new minimum standards for gas storage wells and respond to deficiencies in preparedness and response to prevent another Aliso Canyon occurring anywhere in your districts in the future. Dogger's recent emergency regulations are a start. We know now that Dogger, along with the Department of Energy, Secretary Moniz came out to my district. We have had meetings there. They're focusing. There has not been adequate oversight of natural gas reservoirs in the country. We've sort of ignored it. And not adequate oversight in a preventative way, a precautionary way. So we're not just responding to the leak and the accident when it happens, but we can prevent leaks ahead of time by engaging in best management practices. So this bill contains automatic shut-off systems on wells, enhanced monitoring, inspection, training, and reporting. Look forward to working with Dogger. It also, for the first time, asks OWIA, our Office of Health Hazard Assessments, with developing a science-based method to calculate safe setback distances from storage well. No matter which district, should homes be next to a producing oil or gas field? Perhaps not. It asks them to just look at that and study that. So this is an important bill in getting things right, learning from our mistakes so we don't repeat them. Ask for your aye vote.
Witnesses, 2 minutes each.
Mr. Chairman and members, Barry Broad on behalf of the Utility Workers Union of America. We represent the employees who work at Aliso Canyon and the 3 other underground gas storage facilities in Southern California. And this is a very important bill. We've worked very closely with the author since she introduced this bill in order to shape this into a bill that will work, that will be pragmatic. there's going to be plenty of time in the future to try to figure out why this happened, and there are and Senator Pavley has spoken to that, but the real issue is how to make sure it doesn't happen again. And so we support the bill. We think the sort of precautionary approach that it takes is the appropriate approach, that that there should be a safety plan for gas storage facilities for the entire life of each well, and that each well needs to be analyzed individually to determine when and how often it should be replaced or changed. With respect to one issue raised in the analysis, I just wanted to make an important point. As the analysis indicates, and we agree, that there are questions about underground shutoff valves, about whether they work appropriately in these kind of storage facilities, in these types of wells, because our members are concerned that typically they've been designed for oil, not natural gas. And so there's a general agreement that they need to be studied. As you develop any amendment, and it was unclear from the analysis, the important thing from our members' point of view is that the determination of when and where to use underground shutoff valves be determined before they're put in, wherever they're put in, so that we don't get into a situation which we're very concerned about, where something happens, they fail, and they have to be pulled out under circumstances that are very dangerous. That's the problem with them failing. They could fail and fail catastrophically. So it's important that we put them in and know what we're doing and not have to take them out again. So that I hope that you will take that under advisement and urge an aye vote. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, my name is Tim O'Connor. I work for the Environmental Defense Fund. Since October of 2015, EDF has been an active participant in the response to the Aliso Canyon well failure, including participating at the regulatory agency, filing over 60 pages of technical comments with the Department of Oil and Gas, working with the Public Utilities Commission, the California Air Resources Board, et cetera. Additionally, our staff and professional experts have worked to evaluate state-by-state regulatory frameworks across the U.S. associated with natural gas storage operations, as there are over 400 different natural gas storage fields in the U.S. And in this vein, we've evaluated similar natural gas leak events like what we saw at Aliso Canyon to do a comparison. From our work in this area, one thing is very, very clear. In California, as in other states, natural gas storage and regulations tend to fly under the radar. That is until catastrophe strikes. And indeed, here at Aliso Canyon, catastrophe did strike, and it's now our opportunity and indeed a responsibility to protect the people and the environment of our great state from this happening again. Of course, some may ask why 887 is appropriate, while the Department of Oil and Gas itself is in the process of completing a rulemaking which may cover many of the items in this bill. The answer is simple. California communities deserve a response from their elected officials, the people who they voted into office and who have been sworn to represent them and to protect their interests. And that response must be to establish by law requirements that both companies and the agencies must follow. Although the root cause analysis of Aliso Canyon well failure may not be complete, it's clear that both the company and the agency do share some level of culpability here. This is exactly why 887 is so important. History has shown that on this issue, we simply cannot walk away and let the agency develop rules and protections without guidance and directives from a body such as this. And yet, of course, this isn't just about Aliso Canyon. This is about a problem that Aliso Canyon has uncovered. The problem, out-of-date oversight and control requirements on gas storage facilities, is something that's too important for any one agency to get wrong. SB 887 is a common-sense approach within a comprehensive process that needs the guidance that this bill offers. We respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Other witnesses in support, just state your name, organization, and support.
Andrea York on behalf of the Clean Power Campaign in support.
I Will Barrett with the American Lung Association in California, also in support.
Ed Behrens with the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors in support.
Kyle Jones with Sierra Club California in support. Sylvia Solis-Shaw on behalf of the City of Los Angeles in strong support.
Paul Gonzalez on behalf of the South Coast Air Quality Management District in support.
Bill Alio, Environmental Working Group, support.
Matt Pacuco from Save Porter Ranch in support, subject to how the amendments are written, making sure they don't gut the intent of the bill.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Victoria Rome with Natural Resources Defense Council in support.
Jenna Price with the California League of Conservation Voters in support.
Witnesses in opposition? Witnesses have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. Dave Weber from the Gill Ranch Storage LLC. I'm the president and CEO of Gill Ranch LLC. I'll let the other gentlemen introduce themselves. I represent the independent storage providers in California. We're committed to safety and have made safe operations our highest priority. We've demonstrated the commitment through our well and facility designs and our safe operating history. Safety and well integrity are our top priorities, and we've demonstrated that by our track record over the last 17 years. With a focus on safety measures, the 4 independent storage providers have been working with Senator Pavley and her team to provide independently verifiable information on the safety measures currently proposed in SB 887, including getting the American Gas Association to release a limited white paper about subsurface safety valves, or actually emergency shutoff valves. We agree with the goal of the bill to never let an event like Aliso Canyon ever happen again. We want to allow for a risk-based approach that is driven by safety measures that fit for the individual storage location in different facilities throughout California. Each of our facilities, whether it's Aliso Canyon or the independent storage providers or PG&E's facilities, are all different, distinct, and the measures need to be tailored to meet our distinctive features, and including our geography, geology, and geophysics. Thank you to the Chair and the committee staff for developing a set of proposed amendments that make significant progress towards recognizing or averting a one-size-fits-all approach. That's indeed our biggest concern. When somebody says a particular measure, our geology is quite different throughout the state, and our situations are quite different. And we want to allow operators to implement safety measures that best address the potential risk at that facility for each individual well. Each well is a living feature of a facility, and each well has its own different characteristics. I have a dozen injection withdrawal wells at my facility, and each one of them is a little bit different.
Thank you. You have 2 more witnesses, 2 minutes each.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. My name is Richard Hyde. I'm the Managing Director of External Affairs for AGL Resources, and we own Central Valley Gas Storage. I just also want to thank the Chair and the staff for the amendments that they put together. I think they go a long ways toward resolving some of our issues. But one I do want to highlight is the item number D on the amendments, where the presumption is that the low-risk non-urban wells are unsafe, and it's up to us to prove to Dogger that we are safe. I think we would like to at least work toward and work with the staff and work with the author and the Chair to see if there's a way that we can move that to where the presumption is that we are safe. And if Dogger doesn't agree with that, then we can move closer to moving toward a different regime for our protocol for our wells. But again, I just want to express my thanks to the Chair, to the staff, to the author, and to her staff as well, because they have given us a lot of time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I see 2 of you, so one of you guys are going to have to go, and one is not. So who's going to go?
We're going to be
Thomas. Okay. All right. Then go ahead. Please proceed.
My name is Matthew Fournier. I am the manager of reservoir engineering with Wild Goose Storage, and I will make a short statement on subsurface safety valve and tubing and packer and the application of these mitigation measures. Subsurface safety valves are designed for attempting to shut the wellbore following a surface failure, typically a sudden, unforeseen, and unpreventable event. They are not designed to be set at the very bottom of wells, especially of complicated deviated wells, and attempting to do so would most likely lead to frequent interventions due to valve malfunction, which would actually increase the risk of an accidental gas release or worker injury. Casing failure can occur deeper than where a subsurface safety valve is typically set, in which case not only closing of the valve would not stop the leak, but it might complicate an intervention to stop that leak. The most likely cause for casing failure would be the slow-acting force of corrosion, which is totally unforeseeable and preventable with a good casing integrity inspection program and risk assessment. We believe this should be the foundation for updated legislation and regulation. Additionally, for gas storage wells, internal corrosion of the casing is normally not a concern since pipeline gas is non-corrosive. External corrosion can be a concern, especially if the outside of the casing is not covered with cement, which is a substandard design. As for tubing and packer, it does nothing to protect against external corrosion of the casing and can be an obstacle to casing inspection. And pulling and rerunning the tubing too frequently could actually damage the casing and again increase the risk of accidental gas release or worker injury. Installing tubing in all storage wells indiscriminately would reduce the peak storage deliverability capacity and the ability of storage facilities to meet peak consumer demand. So in conclusion, we believe that a strong casing inspection program and risk management program should be the foundation for updated legislation and regulation, and that specific mitigation measures such as, but not limited to, subsurface safety valve, tubing on packer, remedial cementation, casing patches, and liners be decided upon and imposed by the regulator when the casing integrity inspection results and or the risk assessment results are unsatisfactory.
Thank you, sir. Any witnesses, other witnesses in opposition?
Mr. Chair.
Witnesses with testimony neither in support nor opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I really appreciate it. P. Anthony Thomas, representing the California Independent Petroleum Association and the California Natural Gas Producers Association. Mr. Chairman, we sought a clarification of a natural gas storage well, and we inquired with the chair's office, the author's office, and we received that, and it prevented us from putting any formal opposition together as long as that amendment reads as we discussed and agreed upon. The California Independent Petroleum Association and the California Natural Gas Producers Association will be neutral. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, comments from the committee? Mr. Wood.
Yeah, just a question in regard to the amendment item D, I guess, and the concern about all wells being treated equally and the low risk ones versus high risk ones. It feels a little bit like the low risk wells are being treated like guilty until proven innocent versus the other way around. So I hope as this goes forward that maybe there is some movement in that. I just have a hard time believing that all wells are created equally, and this feels a little bit like we're regulating all wells in exactly the same way. So maybe I'm missing something there, but if and I'm supportive of the bill. It's not that at all. I'm just looking for some clarity around the lower risk wells.
I think items C and D work well together, and you almost have to read them both there in the amendments. First of all, the low-risk wells have 2.5 years to get the inspections and everything else up to speed. The higher-risk wells, which I'm really focused on, particularly those in the urban areas next to homes and everything else, high-risk wells will have a shorter period of time, 1.5. I'll tell you on Aliso Canyon, Dogger, who isn't known for over-regulating a lot of things, has insisted on tubing and well casing, and the extractions would only come out of the tubing because they're concerned about corrosive effects on the well casing. Now I know every perhaps well is different, so this thoughtful way that the chair and his staff working with stakeholders has suggested, this phase-in approach should address some of those individual differences. So is it not guilty innocent. No, it's inspection to make sure, because at Aliso Canyon, this was not done, and the millions of Californians everywhere are going to pay the price. SoCalGas is going to pay the highest price of these class action suits. So we have too many incidents all over the state, whether it's oil drilling or natural gas drilling, because I know I carried the fracking regulation bill where we're not providing the oversight. And the residents in Aliso Canyon want to know from me, is it safe to go back to my home? How can you assure me this won't happen again? What is the legislature doing to protect us? I think we need to think about the preventative side of this in a very thoughtful way, and hopefully this phased-in approach and recognition that some wells are at higher risk than others is critically important on how we prioritize the time that not only the gas operator has, but a dogger to have enough people out in the field. And so we're now in the middle. We've probably finished inspecting all 114 wells that are left, all in different, all through different stages of whether they're safe or not. Some perhaps will be. Some will maybe have to be plugged and abandoned. We've been running a high-risk kind of operation down there, just hoping there's never a problem. So we need to step up and make sure that we have enough safeguards in place so this won't happen again. But I appreciate your comments, because in some areas, maybe it is totally different. And there is not only a white paper coming out, but a conference in Colorado with all top experts on the issue of safety valves and tubing and all those kinds of concerns, where they're looking at it not just in California, that triggered it, but it's brought the attention nationally to this issue that we want to make sure we're not suffering from lack of oversight by our agencies nor our legislature.
Okay. Thank you. Other questions, comments from the committee? Mr. Hadley.
Senator, just very quickly, I wanted to thank you both for your focus and your passion on this, but also working with the other stakeholders, because this is a critically important issue, and these aren't all, it's not a one-size-fits-all problem. So really appreciate your work on it.
Other comments or questions from the committee? I think I appreciate the author for tackling an important issue, and for the author and her staff for working with our staff to craft amendments that will preserve the intent of the bill, particularly for these high-risk wells, and make sure that we do not have continuous application of drilling of wells that are substandard, but that also preserves a little bit of flexibility for low-risk wells, particularly if they can demonstrate to Dogger that they are such. With that, is there a motion? Motion by Stone. Second by Mr. Hadley. Chair's recommendation is aye. Would you like to close?
That's for your aye vote. Thank you.
Please call the roll.
The motion is due pass as amended and re-referred to appropriations. Williams?
Aye.
Williams, aye. Jones?
No.
Jones, no. Garcia? Garcia, aye. Gomez? Gomez, aye. Hadley? Hadley, aye. Harper?
No.
Harper, no. McCarty? McCarty, aye. Stone? Stone, aye. Wood? Wood, aye.
At 7-2, your bill is out, and you have one left, which is Senate Bill 1425.
And this
Senator
is
Pappas.
the easy bill with no opposition. Like
You have a
let's all
motion
go
and a
home.
second.
It's just an accounting system that needs to be done for greenhouse gas emissions associated with the movement, treatment, and heating of water. Discovering the carbon embeddedness can be a good thing. It establishes a completely voluntary registry for greenhouse gas emissions in the water sectors. Agencies, local governments, nonprofits are all very interested in this data. One statewide protocol and standard makes sense to me. Ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Witnesses in support?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members, for considering this important bill. My name is David Rosenheim, Executive Director of the Climate Registry, and we recognize this intrinsic connection between water, energy, and greenhouse gases We know generally that about 19% of the state's energy is used in the water cycle, and more than a third of our natural gas is used primarily to heat water. But we know very little about the specific footprints of specific units of water. A water energy nexus registry will help us address these known gaps in data, and it will help provide actionable data both for water agencies and large water consumers, so they can make smart choices that tie together their energy conservation and efficiency efforts with energy efficiency. The Climate Registry has been studying facility-level greenhouse gases for some time, and we know that measuring and reporting and verifying greenhouse gases is the necessary first step in successfully mitigating those emissions. We did a study last summer on 50 of our members across many sectors and saw that from year 1 to year 5 of consecutive reporting, there was a 20% reduction. And this is including some very large emitters. So measurement is important, transparency is important, and this type of registry that encourages voluntary action is really the first step. We've started our work on this, and some of you may be aware of the many efforts around the water energy nexus area. And one thing I'll point out is that these efforts are pretty diffuse. Different agencies on the water, energy, and greenhouse gas side have been working on this. We need to pull it together. The time is now, given where we are in the drought and given our ambitious greenhouse gas reduction targets. So we ask for your support of the bill. We think that this can serve as a coordinating function among state agencies and other stakeholders and can really start us on a path in the water sector to successfully manage our greenhouse gas emissions.
Thank you. Other witnesses in support? State your name.
Jason Barbos with the Union of Concerned Scientists. Bill addresses a report that we wrote last year on this issue, provide important data. Happy to support.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mark Fenstermaker with the Sonoma County Water Agency in support.
Justin Malone for the U.S. Green Building Council. We've long recognized the nexus between water and energy and strongly urge your support.
Thank you. Witnesses in opposition to the committee. We already have a motion and a second. Would you like to close?
This is a voluntary registry, and 14 years ago, Senator Scheer did one on greenhouse gas emissions, not for the water sector, but everything else. Established the protocols. People voluntarily registered. They loved establishing a baseline because it helped them reduce their costs when they found out how much energy they were using. Ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Chair's recommendation is aye. Please call the roll.
The motion is due pass, and we refer to appropriations. Williams?
Aye.
Williams, aye. Jones? Aye. Jones, aye. Garcia? Aye. Garcia, aye. Gomez? Hadley? Aye. Hadley, aye. Harper? Aye. Harper, aye. McCarty? Aye. McCarty, aye. Stone? Aye. Stone, aye. Wood? Aye. Wood, aye.
The bill is out. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
Senator Lara.
Oh, I see what you're doing.
Just go, Senator Carberry.
Where'd you been?